This is my 21.3 age presentation. So in the UK, the age expectancy to reach is on average 81.5 years old. Stereotypically, the older generation can be looked upon as being slower, weaker, and able to perform in certain activities, especially by the youth who are more agile, faster, and stronger in instances. Aging is a degenerative process which can involve losing strength, flexibility, having weaker bones, slower reaction times, and less efficient cardiovascular system. There are two types of aging. One can be controlled, cannot be controlled, which is known as chronological aging. The other is biological aging, which can be controlled and kind of prevented and slowed down. For example, keeping fit and healthy will help to reduce biological aging. Therefore, the fitness of the individual will have a huge factor on aging. If someone smokes and drinks daily, then they will age a lot quicker due to the chemicals that are being put into their body. If someone exercises daily and has a healthy diet, then the aging process will slow down. There are many more opportunities for younger athletes and older athletes. For example, like football, tennis, rugby, swimming, and gyms are all easily accessible for young athletes, whereas for the older generation, it's harder to find these opportunities. Sports such as walking, football, gym classes, and elderly swimming lessons have been set up to help keep the elderly fit and active. Due to having professional sports careers, athletes can find that when they do reach older ages, their body is already injured in areas. This will speed up the process of aging. If an athlete performs sport recreational, keeping themselves fit and healthy without putting huge strain on themselves, then they may deteriorate at a slower rate. This is because they haven't had the strain on their bodies that the professional athletes had. Different sports can be played until different ages. For example, footballers usually can play up until around their 35, 36-year-old. There are some instances where people are 40 and they're still playing football professionally, but it's quite rare. Whereas gymnasts may start their sport at a much younger age when they're lighter and smaller, and then retire at an earlier age around 20. So the endocrine system. As an athlete gets older, their testosterone levels begin to drop. Levels can drop by 20%. This will mean that the athlete will find it harder to grow muscle. This is because testosterone is a key hormone in growing muscle fibers. The decline of testosterone levels can begin at the age of 30. Estrogen levels also decrease over time. At the age of around 40, estrogen levels begin to decrease. This can affect sleeping patterns, which in turn can cause physical performance to decrease due to poor sleep. Human growth hormone, or HGH, also decreases with age. HGH is a hormone which will increase an athlete's cell and muscle growth. As an athlete gets older, their HGH stores will decrease. Therefore, this is due to the pituitary gland where HGH is produced. This gland slows down and begins to decrease production rates at the age of around 30. Therefore, this will prevent an athlete from being able to grow muscle and cause recovery times to be longer. So the skeletal system. After the age of 30, bones begin to deteriorate. This means that bone density is reduced, making bones weaker, thinner, and more liable to be injured. Osteoporosis is a disease that affects bone density. This is due to a loss of minerals such as calcium and a reduction in tissue around the bones. Therefore, whilst performing sports, bones can easily snap and fracture when placing large amounts of pressure on the bones. Even small amounts of pressure can still break them and snap them. A lighter form of osteoporosis is osteopenia. This is similar to osteoporosis due to the lack of minerals reducing bone tissue. However, osteopenia weakens bones, but not to the extent of which osteoporosis does. Therefore, bones are still liable to break, but not as common. Osteoblasts, which help bone growth when bone tissue dies, also reduce their work rate with age. This means that bone tissue dies and it is replaced at a slower rate, which means bones are weaker. Osteoarthritis is another disease associated with age. This is where cartilage around joints breaks down. This causes joints to then grind on bone when performing a movement. Due to this, movements cannot be performed and athletes lose range of movements. The athletes can also fully lose range of movements and may not be able to move certain joints. There are different risks with age. For example, if an athlete smokes a lot, then bone deterioration is promoted. Also, if an athlete has a poor diet where there is little calcium consumed and not enough protein, then bones will become weak due to diet. If someone does not take part in enough exercise, then their bones will also become weak due to them not being used enough to trigger osteoblasts to replace and grow new bones. Age also affects the muscular system. At the age of 32 or around there, muscles begin to deteriorate. This starts off at a slow rate and speeds up the older you get. Every decade, around 5% of muscle mass can be lost. One disease associated with muscle loss is sarcopenia. This is where muscle and strength over time deteriorates due to age and inactivity. So if you're getting older and you stop exercising, which usually come hand in hand, it will cause this. More women suffer from sarcopenia than men. Due to this disease, it will reduce a person's strength. Therefore, the person's force they can then produce. Therefore, if someone is playing like vets football, for example, at 45, they may find they're unable to kick the ball as hard due to a loss of strength and their force they can produce. Muscle tissue also changes over time, which will affect the shape of the muscle, making it more rigid. Due to the fact that the muscle is more rigid, they therefore won't be as flexible. Age will then bring a deterioration in strength and size of muscle along with reduction in flexibility. One way to prevent this is to make sure you're eating enough protein and enough calories, which will help to fuel the muscle and promote recovery and repair from the protein. Motor unit triggering is also reduced, so this will slow down reaction time as muscles cannot contract as quick. So as you get older, this will get worse. So when you're very old, just to like get up and move will be more of a chore, as your motor units won't trigger as quickly. So now the respiratory system. There are many muscles around the lungs which will help aid breathing in and out. For example, diaphragm. Due to age, these muscles begin to deteriorate and weaken after the age of 32. This makes breathing harder work as the accessory muscles do not aid inspiration and expiration to the extent they used to. At the age of 35, there is a reduction in VO2 levels, which will make aerobic activities a lot more difficult. This is due to a build-up of collagen in the lung tissue. This makes the lung tissue more rigid, and due to the fact that it's more rigid, the lungs cannot stretch as much when breathing in. So this will reduce the VO2 as less oxygen can be inhaled. The alveoli also lose shape with age and become kind of saggy. This makes them less efficient and in turn reduces the amount of gases exchange that can take place. This will therefore reduce the amount of oxygen that can be carried to muscles as gases exchange cannot be done as efficiently. The amount of oxygen that is carried to the brain is also reduced, which can cause psychological factors that affect the person. This could prevent them from performing a sport, as they could get confused and make a mistake and do something that would get them injured. So therefore that could affect their sport. So now the cardiovascular system. As people get older, their heart cannot sustain the same amount of exertion compared to in their younger years. Therefore, heart rate decreases over time, and this lowers max heart rate. When someone gets older, the heart walls increase in size, making it thicker. This therefore makes the heart chamber smaller, which reduces the amount of blood which can be pumped around the body. The SA node also loses precision with age, meaning it cannot trigger the heart to beat as fast. The SA node controls how fast the heart beats, so if it slows down, then the heart won't be able to keep up with the high intensity of a training session. This can also cause abnormal rhythms for the heart to beat at, so not beating at a constant pace. It might suddenly go really fast and then suddenly really slow. This could easily cause like a heart attack. Blood vessels also change over time. I can't even say this word. Atherosclerosis is a disease which causes a build-up of plaque in blood vessels. This will prevent blood flow, which can then increase blood pressure. So if the blood can't flow freely through blood vessels, then the pressure is obviously going to increase. So over time, especially when exercising, blood needs to be directed to working muscle groups. With age, valves can also deteriorate, which can cause blood to not return fully to the heart. This is known as blood pooling. This is common in the legs due to the fact that gravity cannot help return the blood to the heart. Blood can also thicken over time as body fluid is reduced. This causes blood to become thicker and in turn it increases blood pressure as blood vessels have to work harder to then push the viscous blood around the body. Chronic heart disease can be caused due to diet, especially if someone is extremely obese. If someone has smoked for long periods of their life, or if they've smoked for all of it, then this can also cause it. Genetic diseases which can also be passed on through family could hinder someone's performance in sport, especially with age. Type 2 diabetes can also cause someone to have a higher risk of heart disease and hypertension, which is kind of high blood pressure, which can contribute to being a greater risk of chronic heart disease. As a result of not enough blood reaching the brain, different diseases can be caused, such as dementia and Alzheimer's. However, regular exercise can help to prevent this. It's been proven due to the fact it stimulates blood flow, keeping a healthier heart, so then you'll be able to play your sport for longer, as dementia and Alzheimer's, I guess, could maybe make you forget certain movements in sport, so then you won't be able to do it as well, or you might forget how to do certain movements and just not be able to play the sport, or you won't remember how to do it exactly. Body mass, so as people get older, their BMR slows down. This is their metabolic rate. Having a slower metabolic rate means that a person will have to eat less to survive without doing anything. It means they burn less calories doing absolutely nothing. This can then catch a lot of people out as they don't realize the difference in BMR and carry on eating the same amount of calories, which they have done previously, which didn't cause them to put on weight. So then when they do eat the same amount with a lower BMR, they could become obese in some instances. As you can see from the data on the screen, the percentage of people who are obese goes up in the 2004 block. As you get older, it kind of gets more obese, and then as you get very, very old, towards 65 onwards, you start to lose it as, I guess, muscle deteriorates and along with bone density. So then it's not very good indicator there, but the earlier age, it does show that you get older, BMR slows down, and then people put on a lot of weight. Energy expenditure could be a contribution to this. So energy expenditure is how much energy you burn daily. As people get older, this usually decreases. This could be due to having a 9 to 5 desk job, or because you've got older, you cannot keep performing these activities.